Healthy Mind, Healthy Life. I'm your host Avik, and today's conversation dives into something that I personally love, just storytelling that makes us think. So, every author knows that writing is not just about the story on the page, but it's all about the story behind it, the courage to start, the persistence to finish, and the vulnerability to share something new with the world. And our guest today is, please welcome, John P. David. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Amazing. So, dear listeners, before we delve into the discussion, I'd quickly love to introduce you with John. So, John is a seasoned public relations and crisis communications consultant, the author of a nonfiction business book like How to Protect Your Reputation Online, and now a debut mystery novelist. So his first novel, The Bystander, just released from Tulle Publishing, has already made the waves. I mean, longlisted for the BPA First Novel Award, recognized by 2025 Story Trade and Page Turner Awards, and praised for its gripping, thought provoking plot. So it follows like TV reporter Pete Lemaster, who films an active shooter incident, and even that catapults him into a fame, but unravels into a wave of secrets, moral dilemmas, and questions about the truth and responsibility. So, John, welcome to the show and congratulations on the incredible launch of The Bystander. I mean, I have to say that this book feels, I'd say really timely and profoundly human. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you for the kind words.
Lovely, lovely. Thank you. So, John, your background is in public relations and the crisis communications. So, I mean, uh, the worlds that already deal with the pressure, right? Pressure, perception, public storytelling. What inspired you to make the leap from nonfiction and the corporate ghostwriting to creating a full bloom, I say uh, blown mystery novel?
It's thank you for the opportunity to talk about that. So
Yeah.
I've been a writer my whole life. I think is probably the best way of looking at it. I mean, I studied journalism when I was in college, and I wrote for professionally, and I still write professionally. I write a lot of articles and newsletter copy and brochure copy, and I write speeches for executives, and I've ghostwritten a lot of things. And and when I was before I got married, I read a ton of fiction. I read a lot of novels, a lot of mysteries, a lot of thrillers, and then I met my wife. We got married. We have kids, and something's got to give, right? You only have so much time in your life, and and I joke that my golf game went disappeared when I got married, and my fiction reading kind of went away. But I was always working on my writing craft, and I wrote a lot. I had a blog, a pretty active blog for a while, and I wrote a business book several years back, which you mentioned, how to protect or destroy your reputation online, nonfiction. But then about 3 years ago, I kind of rediscovered fiction. I'd started reading novels and mystery novels and thriller novels, as just for fun and for pleasure. Because I had more time. My kids are in college now. They're grown in the workforce. I had more time, and I rediscovered novels and mystery writing, and I decided I came across an incident that happened in a mall in Indiana, where an active shooter was killed by an armed bystander in an Indiana mall. And it was a really remarkable story. It remains a remarkable story, and it just kind of got me thinking. And in the United States, there's some really some gun laws that are different from the rest of the world, and there's perceptions about guns that are different from other places, and it's controversial, but it's also in the United States Constitution, the right to bear arms. And we anyway just to me the whole that whole story of what happened in Indiana I thought was really fascinating. on a lot of levels, and it sparked some ideas in me, and I decided to, write a work of fiction with this premise of, what could happen if someone would, if an active shooter was killed by an armed bystander, and off it went, and that was the initial idea, and then I just decided to write it and see where it took me, and here I am.
Lovely. That's really lovely. So, a very quick thing I'd love to ask, was there a specific moment or maybe the story that sparked the bystander?
Well, I mean, it was certainly that moment at this that where I learned about the shooting at this mall in Indiana, and that really, was the spark, the idea. That's what where I said, I wonder. I looked at it and I thought this whole thing has a lot of depth to it, and I think I could write something. I think I could come up with something interesting. I think I could write a novel with this sort of premise and see where it takes me.
Oh, okay. So, okay, got it. And also, if I say the bystander, right? The bystander begins with a viral news clip, like something so relevant in today's culture where truth can be filtered through lenses and the headlines. So, what did you want readers to reflect on about the media and responsibility and the role of storytelling in shaping what people believe?
It's a really interesting question, and I think part of it part of it is that, often these days, we're always looking for that video footage. You hear of something that happens and you want to see it. And if you don't see it, it's kind of less real. And so that was one reason why I thought, about that's why where I came up with this idea to make this a viral video, because that, has the ability to, to shape the story in a way that other that
Mm.
like different that are different that's different from a firsthand or an in-person account. But the video, really is something that, gets hold of people and gets people's attention.
Yeah.
And that's the same that happens in the real world. One of my clients always says, a picture's worth 1,000 words, but a video is worth 10,000 words, or more. And I think that, and then how we respond to these things is always really interesting in society, and how when you see something, how people react. And you can show the same video clip to a dozen different people and get a dozen different perspectives.
Yep, exactly. So, I mean, were you inspired by any real life events or experiences that made you question, like, how quickly information and misinformation spreads?
Absolutely. I mean, nothing really specific, but I mean that's part of what happens is that you get this that today you have the ability for, for millions and millions of people to see
Mm.
something instantly. And because everyone has the ability to watch a video, in their hand all the time. And the old days, you have to wait for it to be on the evening news. And now you have, video highlights of everything. You have live streaming that's going on. You have podcasts that are rebroadcasting information, and now it just happens. Everything happens really quickly, and that impacts that sort of real time nature of it impacts decision making. And I think that that's another aspect of it. You have the viral video idea that impacts how people perceive something right away.
Mm. True, exactly true. Yeah. So, I have to say that it's really powerful because it's almost like you are exploring how truth isn't always about the facts, but it's all about the context, emotion, and who controls the narrative. something that feels just as relevant in life as it is in fiction. So that's very true. Yep. And yeah, please, you're saying something.
For sure. No, I think, and part of what happens in the book is you have different people in the different characters in the book have different reactions to the video,
Mm.
and that's part of it. That's part of it. Some people, you know, there's so some people look at it and immediately have an opinion one way, and there's some people look at it and they immediately have an opinion another way, and that's part of what I think makes that conceptually interesting.
Yep, exactly. So, as someone who's worked in the media and the communications, you have probably seen like how public crises affect the people on a personal level. So, did writing the bystander give you any new perspective on mental health?
Absolutely. I mean, I think part of one of the things that I, and not to give away too much in the book, but there's um it talks about issues of there's some it addresses some issues of mental health and um, PTSD in particular are issues that are addressed in the book. I mean, it's important. First things most important is it's a story. It's a work of fiction. It's meant to be a work of entertainment, right? But I tried to tie in, some realities to it, um, and what you what you realize is that for example, there's sometimes things happen and people become famous, right? And because that something happens, a video goes viral, they become famous, and then sometimes you hear later on that they thought it was great in the beginning, and then after a while, maybe not so much, right? It's not
Mhm.
quite as not all it's cracked up to be. And so part of it is addressing those sorts of issues. The downsides, the upsides and the downsides of fame are something that you can touch on. Um, and and then how you're perceived based on something like that, and then ultimately how you might be manipulated or taken advantage
Right.
of at the same time.
Exactly. Mhm. So, yeah, I mean, do you think that the fiction can sometimes help us process the things that really doesn't let us pause long enough to feel? What is it?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting point. I mean, I think that you want to. I've had a lot of a lot of folks who've read my book have said that they that it it's called out some issues that they weren't really aware of. Um, and some folks were aware of these issues, and other people were not. And some folks just said to me that they were happy that I brought attention to some of these concerns and issues that happen. And um, you're not. The idea was not to write, a research paper on any particular issues, whether it's PTSD or gun rights or veterans issues, but it's always makes your story, in my opinion, more interesting and feel more authentic when when you weave in the truth. It's not just that everything's not like 100% made up. We're still on planet Earth. We're still dealing with gravity. We're still dealing with emotions and people and and all those things. And at the same time, we're dealing with concerns that societal issues that are pressing. And that makes I think that makes the story feel more real.
Mm, I agree. And it's just a great reminder because that creativity is not just about the escape. It's all about the integration, and it's how we make sense of chaos in a world that doesn't always slow down for the reflection. So it's very true. Yep. And so now, like you are now both a business author and novelist, two very different kinds of credibility. What advice would you give to someone who is listening, who's sitting on a book idea, but doubting whether they can pull it off or not?
That's a great question. I mean, I think
Mhm.
the for me, I mean, I wrote to me, I can see in my life the pathway, how
Mhm.
I got to where I am. Um, and the part of it is that I'm not sure that I would have written a novel had I not already written my business book. I think I learned a lot about the difference between nonfiction and fiction when I published my business book, and it didn't make fiction writing any less daunting, because I think it's very daunting, the whole process, but
Mhm.
I understood it better, and I also understood what I was capable of as a writer. And I think the advice that I think makes the most sense for someone who's considering this is that you have to try, you have to put forth your effort, um,
Mhm.
and there is, in either types, in nonfiction or in fiction, there are pathways, that you should follow, and they're not necessarily like really hardened guidelines or anything, but you have to make sure that you tell a good story, and that your spelling and your grammar is good, and your that you've proofread everything before you share it with people, and then you have to go through the process of getting help, like finding editors who can help you, frame your story. I don't think anybody can really do it, completely by themselves. So you have to get the assistance to get you, you know, to the next level. But if you believe in yourself, and you believe in what you're writing, and you believe in your storytelling ability in the case of fiction, then there are a lot of pathways to get your work, in front of people, and there are a lot of folks out there who are willing to help, and so it's just really a matter of learning the game, and then playing the game, and playing the game hard, and eventually, you can excel at the game. It just takes time, and effort, and you really have to believe in your own abilities, I think, is the most important.
Exactly. Exactly true. Yep. Amazing. Lovely. So, John, thank you so much for this thoughtful conversation and for giving us the glimpse behind the bystander. Uh, for everyone who's listening, like if you have ever felt like it's too late to start something new, then John's story is the living proof that it's never too late to follow a creative calling. Whether it's a business, a book, or a dream that you have been putting off. So start writing your first line today. So, John, if someone wants to connect with you, what will be the great medium to connect?
Sure. Well, my book, The Bystander, is available, everywhere books are sold. Online sites. There's obviously Amazon, and barnesandnoble.com, and all the other main sites all over the world. And also I have a website. My web address is byjohndavid.com, and that has background information on me. It has links to the books. It talks about reviews. It'll give information on my upcoming events, all those types of things. So if you really want to find out a little bit more about me and about my books, it's byjohndavid.com, byjohndavid.com. So
Amazing. Lovely. So, dear listeners, I'll put all the links into the show notes for easy reference. And until next time, this is the host Ravik reminding you to keep your mind curious, your heart open, and your life inspired. So, thank you so much.